You are standing in your backyard. Maybe it's a Tuesday morning. Maybe it's the week after a funeral. The kind of week where everything feels slightly wrong. The coffee tastes different, the silence is too loud, and you keep forgetting what you walked into a room to do. And then you see it. A cardinal. Brilliant red, impossibly bright against the gray of the morning, sitting on the fence post right outside your window, just sitting there, looking at you. And something inside you, something you can't quite name, goes completely still. You think it's a coincidence. You think it's just a bird. You think grief is making you read too much into a moment that means nothing. You were wrong. That cardinal did not land there by accident. And after watching this video, you will never look at a cardinal perched near your window near you the same way again. Welcome to the Bird Oracle. I'm glad you are here, and I want you to know this channel exists for moments exactly like the one I just described. If you are new here, subscribe right now, because what you are about to learn will change the way you look at every cardinal that comes near you, forever. Now, there are 6 things you need to understand about why cardinals appear after someone dies. 6 layers to this, and they go from the scientific to the deeply personal. Some of them will surprise you. Some will stop you cold. And one of them, the last one, changes everything about how you think about what these birds actually are. Stay with me until the end. The first thing you need to know is this. Cardinals do not move the way other birds do. Most songbirds are restless. They migrate. They disappear for months and return as strangers. But cardinals are what biologists call year-round residents. They do not leave. They do not abandon their territory. They stay through winter, through storms, through every season in the same small patch of the world they have claimed as their own. That patch of world? It may be your yard. It may be the tree at the edge of your driveway. It may be the bush outside the window of the house where someone you loved used to live. When a cardinal appears during a period of grief, the reason it feels startling, the reason it feels personal, is partly because it is personal. That bird has been there. It has seen the comings and goings of your family. It has watched the lights go on and off in that house for seasons. Cardinals form deep, consistent bonds with their territory, and research into avian spatial memory shows these birds remember the specific features of their environment with extraordinary precision. So when you see a cardinal after a loss and it seems to be watching you, it's not your imagination that the bird is familiar with you. It might actually be. The second reason is stranger. And most people do not believe it until they see it for themselves. Cardinals grieve. Not in the way we grieve. Not in the way your chest feels hollowed out and everything reminds you of a voice you'll never hear again. But in a measurable, behavioral, observable way, cardinals respond to loss. Cardinals are monogamous. They pair bond intensely. Studies of cardinal behavior have shown that when one bird in a mated pair disappears, the remaining cardinal undergoes a distinct change. It vocalizes differently. It patrols the edges of its territory more frequently. It becomes visible in ways it wasn't before showing up in open spaces, perching in exposed spots, calling more often. Grief researchers who study animal behavior have noted that this increased visibility is likely connected to searching behavior. The bird is looking. It is calling. It is present in a way that is almost uncomfortable to witness once you understand what you're seeing. Now think about this. During the days after a human death, when a family is grieving and people are gathering and the yard is different and the house feels different, a cardinal that has lived in that space may be responding to that change too. Not because it understands death the way we do, but because something in the environment it knows intimately has shifted and it feels it. But what comes next is even stranger, because now we're leaving behavioral science behind and stepping into something that science and human experience have been quietly agreeing on for centuries. The third reason goes back further than any of us. Across dozens of cultures, On multiple continents, with no connection to each other, people have believed that the souls of the dead can travel in birds. The ancient Egyptians believed the Ba, a part of the human soul, could take the form of a bird and return to the living world. Indigenous traditions across North America speak of ancestors moving through winged creatures. In Celtic folklore, certain birds appearing near the home of the recently dead were understood as visitations, not accidents. And in modern American folk tradition, particularly in the American South, there is a saying so old and so persistent that it has become almost a cultural reflex. Cardinals appear when angels are near. Now, you can believe that literally, or you can hold it loosely. But consider this. The reason this belief has survived across so many different people and so many different centuries is not because humans are irrational. It's because something keeps happening. Something keeps making people look at a cardinal during a moment of grief and feel deeply, wordlessly feel that they are not alone. The feeling is real. Even if science can't fully explain what's behind it, the fourth reason is about color, and it's more powerful than you think. The male cardinal's red is not subtle. It is one of the most vivid colors produced by any living creature in the temperate world. In winter, in the dead of it, when everything is gray and brown and stripped bare, a cardinal is the single most visually striking thing in that landscape. There's a reason color therapists and grief counselors have both independently noted that red carries what researchers call emotional arousal. It pulls your attention before your conscious mind has time to decide whether to pay attention. Red is the color of blood, of warmth, of things that are alive. When you are in the fog of early grief, when the world feels muted and far away, a red cardinal cuts through that fog like nothing else. And the mind, which is always searching for meaning, especially during pain, registers that interruption as significant. This is not weakness. This is not irrationality. This is your brain doing exactly what human brains were built to do. Finding signal in noise. Finding presence in absence. Finding a flash of life in a moment that feels defined by loss. The cardinal doesn't know it is red, but you know. And in that moment, it matters. Stay with me, because the fifth reason is the one that most people find hardest to explain away. The fifth reason has to do with timing, and there is no clean scientific answer for it. People who study grief therapists, hospice workers, bereavement counselors have documented, informally but consistently, a phenomenon that keeps appearing in client accounts. The cardinal appears not generally during the weeks of mourning. It appears specifically on the day of the funeral, on what would have been a birthday, on the first morning after someone passes, before anyone has made a single phone call. One hospice nurse, in an account shared at a palliative care conference, described how multiple families over her career had independently mentioned a red bird appearing at the window of the room where their loved one died, within hours of the death, sometimes before dawn. No migration explains this. No territory behavior fully explains this. No color psychology explains the timing. There is a concept in biology called synchronicity of biological signals, the idea that living organisms can respond to changes in their environment through mechanisms we don't yet fully understand. Some researchers have speculated that birds, with their extraordinary sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, barometric pressure, and infrasound sounds too low for human ears, may be responding to something in the environment at the moment of a death that we simply cannot perceive. We don't know. And that not knowing is important, because it means the door is still open. And now we reach the sixth reason, the last one, the one that stays with you. There is something that grief does to human attention that we almost never talk about. When someone you love dies, the world becomes unbearably specific. You notice things, small things. The way the light falls through the kitchen window at 7 in the morning. the exact sound a certain door makes when it opens, the smell of a particular coat. Grief sharpens the senses in ways that ordinary life never does, because grief forces you to pay attention, to really pay attention, in a way you forgot you were capable of. Cardinals were always there, before the loss, before the funeral, before the weeks of silence that followed. They were in that yard, on that fence, in that tree, going about the extraordinary business of being alive. But you weren't looking, and now you are. And what the cardinal represents, what it has always represented, in every culture and every season that has ever noticed it, is not proof of the supernatural. It is something both simpler and more profound than that. It is the world insisting on continuing. It is life, red and vivid and stubbornly present, landing in the middle of your grief and asking nothing of you except that you notice it. And when you do notice it, when your breath catches and something inside you goes quiet, that is not delusion. That is not wishful thinking. That is a human being, mid-grief, being pulled back into the living world by something alive and beautiful and completely indifferent to your pain. The people who say it's just a bird are not wrong about the biology, but they are missing something. They are missing the fact that the moment, that specific, unrepeatable moment, when the cardinal lands and you see it and something shifts, that moment isn't empty. It's full of something we simply don't have the equipment to perceive. 6 reasons. A bird that never leaves. A creature that responds to loss in its own language. A symbol that has survived 10,000 years of human grief. A color that cuts through the fog of mourning. A timing that no one can fully explain. And a moment of attention that grief made possible. That cardinal is not a message written in a language you can translate, but it is not nothing. It has never been nothing. Now, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it in the comments below. Have you ever had a cardinal appear after someone died in a way that felt personal? In a way you couldn't explain but also couldn't dismiss? Tell me exactly what happened, where you were, what the bird did, whether anyone else was there. I read every single comment on this channel. And I want you to know, these stories stay with me. They genuinely do. The things you share in this space matter. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being the kind of person who stops and pays attention. I'll see you in the next one.